4 under-the-radar moves the Denver Broncos made on Tuesday that you had no idea about because the week 1 of the NFL season was released, but the Broncos did make 4 roster moves that we're going to talk about today. And, of course, I want to give my opinion and thoughts on some of the Broncos' schedule release here. But starting off here, the Broncos made 4 roster moves. They signed cornerback Paul Manning. P. Manning joining back to the Broncos. I hope he wears 18. That was a joke. They cut cornerback William Wright. They signed Mike Woods, and they cut running back Deuce Vaughn. See ya, Deuce Vaughn. That's very sad. We and him are about the same height, except I am slightly taller. So, starting off this video is brought to you by Prize Picks. Play $5, get $50 instantly. Sign up at the top of the description using code DIGEST. It really helps out the channel a lot when you do this, so thank you to each and every one of you that has already signed up. It is greatly appreciated, but let's dive right into this one. So, Woods and Manning both made the roster after their rookie tryouts. Now, roster as in the 91-man roster, which of course has to be brought down to 53. I don't expect either of these guys to make the 53-man roster, but wouldn't be surprised if one of them did, just because they make an impact on special teams throughout practice, throughout minicamp, and throughout tryouts. That would be nice to see. Now it's sad to see my guy Deuce Vaughn go, but something else that's interesting about the 32 rookie trial players and 3 veterans, 3 of them weren't signed. Mike Woods was the only veteran signed. Paul Manning, a rookie, signing with the team, but 2 quarterbacks that were big headlines were E.J. Warner, Kurt Warner's son, and Nathan Peterman, which neither of them made or were signed to the Broncos. Makes sense. Didn't really think either of them would. Definitely not Nathan Peterman, but it's interesting to think about there. Well, the Broncos are set with their quarterbacks. They just brought them in so they could throw during rookie minicamp. They didn't have any real interest in bringing in a different quarterback 3, and they're good with Sam Ehlinger. So that's good to know for the future. But so just so you know what we're looking at here with Mike Woods, while Paul Manning doesn't really have a lot of stats, he went to a D2 school. He went undrafted, obviously. There's not a lot of known information on Paul Manning, expecting him, if he makes the roster, to just be a depth guy and a special teamer. But these are Mike Woods' stats in the NFL. He's a 26-year-old wide receiver. He played with the Browns in 2024 and 2022. He played in 15 games. He had a total of 27 targets in his career, 110 yards. No touchdowns, unfortunately. I'm hoping he can get one in his career because, of course, we root for that. We'd love to see him score a touchdown in the real thing. But it's interesting to think about here who the Denver Broncos could have signed or could not have signed. I'm surprised that they didn't go with my guy here, which I'll give you a chance to look at. Let me make sure I can find his thing if I didn't delete it. Oh, I definitely deleted it. But it's interesting that his name is Katsis. We talked about him on this page before. I wish I had a picture of him. Again, Castis, I think is his name. Cage Castis, maybe. Something like that. Casey Castis. Did I just mix Cage Casey and... Anyways, I'm sorry. Castis is a guy that could have replaced Marvin Mims potentially, as Mims is a free agent this upcoming season. But something to think of here that we didn't really get to talk about is the fact that Nathan McKinnon is that... Marvin Mims said recently in an interview that he's willing to come back to the Denver Broncos, or really would take an extension. So that's good news also on the wide receiver front, because when you look at these Mike Woods stats, they're not exactly something that jump off the page or something that we really want, because, you know, that's just not a punt returner. He's not a special teamer. He's nothing like crazy good or anything interesting like that. But Mike Woods, a guy that's in the NFL, so it's nice that one of the veterans actually made the roster. But it's good to hear that Marvin Mims is interested in staying as well. I should have pulled a quote for you guys to look at as well. But something that I want to talk about in this video as well, because there are multiple Broncos updates, not just with those roster moves, which they're roster moves, they're interesting, but they're not necessarily significant. Something that is interesting to talk about or think of is these division odds that the Broncos are being underdogs in, honestly. So first of all, the Broncos, if you did not hear, are playing the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead Monday Night Football Week 1. So that's our first matchup. I feel like we get a lot of Monday Night Footballs when we're good. But the Denver Broncos currently sit as underdogs, as the Chiefs are favored by 2.5 points. I mean, I can logic my way into this one because when the Chiefs come to Denver, I'm sure the Broncos will be favored, or it'll be really close, but or a really close favored, probably by like 1.5 or 0.5. The Broncos will be favored at home, but the Chiefs favored by 2.5, despite Patrick Mahomes coming off an injury. And I just want to say that this should not be the case for the Broncos. They should be favored. We were just in the AFC Championship. We have the same roster, and something that no one seems to be talking about is the continuity of the teams. So the Chiefs lost a lot of their secondary. They lost Leo Chanel, a linebacker. They lost a good amount of their defensive players. They brought in Kenneth Walker, but they have a lot of moving parts this offseason. Week 1 is going to be their shakiest game. As we all know, the Chiefs defense progressively gets better normally throughout the season. It always seems to get better and better. So week 1, we're going to be facing the worst version of the Chiefs. So this should be our best opportunity to beat the Chiefs at home. Not that I'm not worried about them, but it is our chance to beat them. And Patrick Mahomes' first game off of his major injury, if he's even ready to play, is going to be against the Broncos defense, arguably the best defense in the NFL. That is horrendous for Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be living through a nightmare. You better hope that his newfound offensive line plays really good. I don't think the Broncos should be underdogs in this one by any means, but there is another thing I wanted to bring up about these division odds here. So right now, Kansas City is the favorite to win the division at plus 170. The Chargers second, and the Broncos third. I don't understand the Broncos hate. I don't know why they're being so slept on. And then their chances to win the AFC, the Ravens are favorites, the Bills, then the Chargers and Chiefs, then the Patriots, then the Texans, and then the Broncos. I'm not mad about the Texans, Bills, and maybe Chargers being over the Broncos, because I think the Chargers, with their healthy offensive line, Mike McDaniel, a couple other moves, the Chargers will be very good next year. That's without a doubt. But the Chiefs have no business being over the Broncos. I don't think the Patriots should be over the Broncos. I think their schedule is very difficult, and the Bills, I think, are heavily improved. The Bills should be the best team in the AFC. And why in the world are the Ravens favorites? They keep disappointing year after year. I don't know why the Broncos are consistently being slept on. Again, the Broncos didn't make a ton of additions, but that's because the roster was already very good. They added where they needed to add, aka Jalen Waddle. They added Jonah Coleman, Justin Jolie through the draft. I love these moves that the Broncos made. They have a very good roster. They didn't need to make a bunch of additions like some of these other teams. Now, the Chargers didn't make a lot of additions. The Texans, I would be very worried about. I think they easily could win the AFC. Their defense is insane, and if CJ Stroud plays like an average quarterback, they may just win every single game. The Texans are going to be tough. But the Broncos need to stop being slept on. Why do they have like the 7th highest odds to win the AFC after hosting the AFC Championship, being amazing at home? I don't really get it. Now, the only argument I can see somebody making, and it's not listed here in this article, is the Broncos' record in one-score games. Titans, Eagles, Jets, Giants, Texans, Raiders, Chiefs, Commanders, Raiders, Packers, Chiefs again. It seems like we got a lot of one-score wins, and the year before that we had a lot of one-score losses, so expecting this year to be somewhere in the middle where we lose some more of these one-score games but still win them, because we were one of the best fourth-quarter teams in the league amongst the, just like the Chicago Bears, who I expect both teams will have a worse record than last year, but I think both teams are significantly better than they were last year. So this year's football season is going to be interesting. And before we wrap this one up, I'd just like to say that this video is again brought to you by Prize Picks, and these are my picks of the day. The Colorado Avalanche are taking on the Minnesota Wild. So here's what I got. Nathan McKinnon, more than 2.5 shots on goal. Matt Boldy, more than 3.5 shots on goal. And Cale Makar, more than 2.5 shots on goal. I think it's going to be a scoring frenzy in Colorado today to wrap up the series. Hopefully Avs in 5. And I think this is how they do it, with a ton of shots on goal. And they end up winning 3-1 is my score prediction. But I don't think that these signings today are going to impact the odds of us winning the division or the Chiefs or any game this year. But keep sleeping on the Denver Broncos. They're going to surprise everyone. Once again, we're the underdogs, so that's completely fine by me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to not miss any Broncos content. If you enjoyed this one, you'll enjoy our last video where we break down week 1 of the Broncos schedule, and the previous video breaking down all the Broncos tryout player or who's been standing out in rookie minicamp, Caleb Lohner, Jonah Coleman. You can go check those videos out on the channel. Make sure to subscribe, and thank you so much. Wow. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, y'all, Broncos country, let's ride.